I'm trying to think of like the people who like fall in those buckets. I think if you're going to, your first hire, in my opinion, should be an executive assistant.
Always.
I actually do think, going back on it, one, because it's actually more difficult hiring people realize to like embed everything you're doing into somebody else, and doing that on the fly when you already have 20 employees is somewhat difficult in my experience.
Welcome back to Offshore Unfiltered, the show where we sit down with real business owners who've actually hired outsourced professionals, and we don't sugarcoat any of it. I'm Reef Colman, founder of WeAssist and WorkStackOS. This episode is powered by both of those. WeAssist is our staffing and headhunting agency, and WorkStackOS is the platform we built to help you actually manage the team once you've hired them. Our whole mission on this show is simple: how smart business owners reclaim their time and built teams they never thought possible. But today's episode is a different kind of story. It's sort of the most agencies worry about, right? And the ones that agencies don't want you to hear. And most business owners are embarrassed to tell. And I asked today's guest to come on anyways, because I think it's going to save some of you a lot of pain. So thank you, Justin, for your humility here and jumping into it, and sharing openly. My guest today is Justin Pappan. Justin runs a car subscription and rent-own business here in Arizona. Funny enough, that's actually how him and I met. He was a WeAssist client for a while, and after he decided to hire an offshore team directly on his own. And with that, he built a great team, 4 people, tight-knit, felt like a family. And about 3 years in, he found out just how much he didn't know about what they'd actually been doing behind the scenes. This is not a hit piece on offshore hiring. Quite the opposite. Justin and I actually love offshore hiring, and we think that global talent pools are incredible. Justin and I both still believe in this completely, but we want to show you exactly what to watch out for, what we wish someone would have told us, and how to build a team you can actually trust with evidence, not just a gut feeling. Justin, thank you for being here and willing to be open. I think that's probably the main premise of this, is how to help people structure these relationships correctly across seas.
We've been in business since October of 2020. We initially got referred our first overseas people probably 2.5 years in. Stuck with them, mostly hired their friends, and we've had like a couple of sporadics. We'll get into the details of that. But overall, in my opinion, a great experience. I think just like any other small business, you don't know what the potential issues could or couldn't be. And you just assume you're either getting lucky or you're doing the right thing. And that's not always the case, especially when it comes to hiring, whether it's people onshore or offshore. So I think this, for me, this kind of like podcast should align with people that are, 5 to 40 employees, because that's going to be something where it's like you need to trust but verify. And it's more expensive to not do that than it is to maybe pay a slight premium to make sure everything's taken care of. Yeah,
well said. We want to share that with people, right? I think helping people understand what offshoring should look like and what it could look like done well changes your business, and I think a lot of people operate under different facets that don't actually get them the output that they want. So you're totally right. I couldn't agree more. Before we get into the team, give a layout of the land here. What is your business and how big is it?
Yep. So we have 2 sides of the business, and one of them is a newer aspect. We have the EV access side. This is the traditional subscriptions that you've experienced. $2 to $3 million a year, in that range, depends. The way we have our car system set up, it's a pseudo debt facility with people who need tax write-offs. So people will come to us, buy cars, they get the tax write-offs, we take over their debt plus a slight premium, so they make passive income. And that's the process we've done almost the whole entire time we've been in business. Now it's changing, and we'll keep it kind of like high level here. It's more of the back end investors. We're not finished the next final product, but it's a family office that's going to allow us to go from 1 store to 20 stores, or what does it look like to license out locations and have that debt. The most difficult part is the financing of the used electric vehicles. So, and anyone who's watching that and knows anything about the space, you can finance and get lenders for a brand new Tesla. That's not the issue, but the depreciation curve doesn't support our model for our unit economics. So you can't buy a car for $40,000 and then do what we do at our price plus the insurance risk and also make money when you sell the car. So we have to have a car that's already been pre-depreciated. And with Teslas, you have a unique advantage, or any EV, most part, that your car will last longer than its predecessors that were gas cars.
Wow.
So the historical reason why fleet companies wouldn't finance used cars is because there's an unpredictable amount of expenses that could make the company's profitability not be able to pay their bill, whatever it is, and it's not covered under warranty because they'll eventually exit their warranty, right? So that's been the like unique puzzle piece that we've been trying to find. Individuals at small capacity, sub 1 million, have the appetite for it. And now we're finally finding someone that has, up to $100 million of like appetite to help finance these. And this won't just be our fleets. We'll finance other EV fleets. Specifically, and I don't want to go too deep into like the NYPD. We're working with someone to help finance like their like electric vans. So like customers like that, you'd be surprised who's looking to not buy new. It's not just like one-off small companies. It's the largest city in the United States is trying to work on those deals. So I think that people are always shocked if they're like big finance guys, how there's not a mold for this yet.
What I love that you're doing, similar to kind of our step from hiring agency to now providing all the tools, it's kind of how do you help the entire end-to-end cycle, right? And I see you doing that. Whatever constraints, how do you fix that constraint at the highest level? Interestingly enough, what I love that you're doing is you're creating a financing opportunity, which is probably as big as you can go, creating a finance.
Yeah, we did a little small safe agreement recently to raise for a pre-seed round, no crazy valuation for this net new company that is the financing arm. It's called EVFMC. And brilliant. Our first deals, we're already going to refinance a different EV startups fleet that they do subscriptions on because they need support on that. The profit margin, just how the financing structure works, basically the money you make from assigning the loan for us on the front end is a much more profitable business. And so the difference is we could build a product, which is these EVs that get assigned, in these fleets, right? Or you can build a model where the whole ecosystem can use around it. I think that's where you make significantly more money in the long term, is helping build, like you said, like the mold for all these other companies that want to do similar stuff to us to be successful, less me just solving my own problems.
You hit it right on the head. Workstack OS, as we're building it, is to help other agency owners be able to structure and scale their agencies. So same thing, right? Teaching them how to, give them the tools to, and then offices that have 2, 20, 50, 40 people can also utilize the software. So it's twofold, which is kind of interesting. I'll tell the people how you and I actually met, because I think this is a pretty good story.
I remember my side. I learned more later on about like the full scope. So we were on Turo at the time. Yes. Still, right? We were the 5th largest Turo fleet, or maybe whatever the internal people would tell us at one point in time. And we had the office in South Phoenix, like that old office complex. Yeah. And long story, we ended up getting removed from Turo I won't get to that here. But apparently they don't like when you start trying to compete with them. Like if you have your own demand, if you do private rentals, they don't enjoy that. And I think we ended up renting with you private later on, right? Yeah. So we never would pull people off of Turo. We followed their guidelines to a T. But if Reef would come back to me and say, hey, I need a car for a month, what can we do? And that is one of the people that helped build our actual current business model, because we used to do all short-term rentals. Yeah, and that was, like it said, 20,000 trips in 5 years, which is a lot of customers to process.
At 365 days a year, that's a crazy number.
Yeah, you're talking like 70 rollovers a day. So like cars coming and going and flipping the cars in our peak season. Wow. And that's chaos. Now it's not like that at all. It's much easier on us. But you were either traveling here for the first time to go to Sedona, right?
No, it was Vegas.
Vegas. It was Vegas. And you had never driven a Tesla before.
I wanted my buddy had a Model X, and I wanted a, it was actually the back of it that probably we haven't gotten into deeply was I didn't have the finances to go to a conference that I needed to go to in Vegas to fly there and fly back. And I had a dog at the time. And I couldn't go with my girlfriend. So I was like, hey, I can't make this trip there and back with an airplane and our luggage. What do I do? And I was traveling around the world, and I had just stopped back into Scottsdale. So I didn't even have an apartment anymore because I'd been traveling to different countries. And the company, I was actually in one of those places where if I wouldn't have gone to this conference, it was either hold the last dollar amount I had in my bank account and not go to the conference, or spend it to get the car, rent it, and get a hotel room in Vegas and see what I could have done there. And it actually saved my company at that time.
That's crazy. And there's even more. It's not easy to drive a Tesla at that point to Vegas. You remember?
Yeah.
I remember getting calls being like, what's the best way to charge this on the way there? Yeah. And there's only 2 stations, and you have to stop them. If you miss one, you have to get a tow back to the previous one. So we had probably a couple hundred people go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I bet it was a 10% dead car rate. I'm not joking. We probably had 20 to 30 tows between Phoenix to Vegas where a car had to get stuck in between because people just don't know. We tell them stop at both stations no matter what and charge fully.
I was almost one of those people. Yeah.
Was it close for you? Yeah. You hear the horror stories. Like I pulled in at 0%.
Yeah.
I was like, unless you're a Tesla person and you know how the systems work and you it's never accurate, right? It says 350 miles of range, but you probably, because you're going uphill, it's probably like 250.
Or AC on.
Yeah, or AC on, or you're maybe going 20 over or whatever. Not you, but like in general.
No, I fly for sure. Yeah.
So
to the police, I'm so sorry. I donate to you guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That sound right?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
And then we didn't really talk much after that until maybe like when you brought the car back.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, it was
So we started
a week after. Yeah.
talking about the business. We hired Jefferson, right? And we started using you guys. So we must have been one of your first clients too.
No, we've been around for 7 years now.
I'm saying at that point we were early on though.
Oh, for that together, for that, you and I together, yes. Yeah. Prior to that, I've been, We Assist has been around now. This will be our 7th year anniversary in August. So we've been doing it for quite some time. Let's go back to the very beginning, right? Your outsourcing journey. Before you and I ever worked together directly, what was going on in the business and what made you look at hiring offshore in the first place, way before us?
I got referred from a real estate guy, which I think is the most common use case for executive assistants or virtual assistants, any capacity. And he said he had a guy, which I found out later, he didn't really use him that much. He's like, I have this guy, it's the person we'll talk about is like we'll call him the head of overseas for us, right?
Sure.
And meet this guy, he's probably 40. My guess, he's a little bit older than me, maybe in his mid 30s. He'd never owned a home or never owned a car in the history of their family. And I kind of like asked some questions because I was more like curious, what do they normally get paid, right? And I think he said like $400 a month.
$300 to $400 is average in the Philippines.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
600 to 800 is manager. You have to work at a BPO for like 8 to 10 years or 15 years to make that kind of money. And then beyond that, once you get to like the $2,000 marker a month, that's senator money. Like you're essentially a politician. You're living a fabulous life.
And we sent him, I think we started him at 600. So 50% higher than his original pay. And I told him, because I did a little research, I was like, your guys' company, like the highest paid guys will make like 1,300. Like that's the best, like, master's degrees and like all the things. I was like, I'm open to doing that. It's like, I just got to trust you and you got to be like the guy for me. Yeah. And I'd say the first year he was, and we had no other people working with us at that point in time. And then later on, obviously they ended up hiring people, but we were looking for automated tasks. AI doesn't exist at any capacity.
Yeah.
And we had an Asana board. I told you 70 cars in and out every day.
Oh,
and we had to reassign all the trips and tags and the customers to message them. And we had all these Teslas, so I like scheduled the keys. Most of them were remote pickups. So we weren't actually meeting the customers either. So like, how do you organize this flow of probably like, on a Friday, if there's 70 cars moving out, there's probably 300 or 400 tasks to complete. And we have 2 to 3 guys in person at the office at that point, and then 1 guy overseas. And then me, I was deeply involved in operations at that point.
I remember that. I remember when I met you, you were like really in the fray of it all, which is you were in the office nonstop. Now I see him a lot freer, which is nice.
Yeah, partly is how we operate. It's just long-term bookings. Like we have
the pivot.
5 cars come back a week from monthly subscriptions.
Oh, easy. That's great.
And that rotate. And we have 2 full-time guys in person that cover the 7 days. And significantly less work.
Well, that fascinating thing about you hiring friends from a friend, the most common place where the dishonesty starts to happen is that friend-to-friend hire, right? Where it's like, hey, I got a friend, but then the friend has a friend, then the friend has a friend, and then the outsourced professional ends up with 4 or 5 clients and rotating 4 or 5 clients, charging each client full-time salary. And they're kind of like you and your real estate buddy, non-communicative, right? You don't share like how many hours a person's working with you. You just think, oh, I got you a buddy. And then they don't realize that they're working with another person on the background, but still charging their full labor.
Yeah, I think where you make this, and you actually coached a lot when we first met. I don't know if you know, we would have calls about how to be a better manager.
Mm-hmm,
you remember that?
Yeah.
With Kate.
It's part of the We Assist way.
Yeah. So
our model isn't based around at We Assist. It's not just about we interviewed all our clients and asked them, what do you care most about? And it seems that the headhunting portion and the 6-month onboarding is what people really care about. They're learning how to have a team, what's important in having a team. And that's actually made our pivot to just being a 6-month company where we find your talent, verify them, make sure they have the criminal background checks, and then walk away.
And there's really no way to pre-value that as an owner who hasn't hired overseas or had an executive support person. Because what I learned was not very good at delegating. Like we talked about that like a lot. I was like, if we have a day's worth of work, I know what's coming on that day, but I wasn't good at planning out like what's the reoccurring for the next week, especially at first. And we got better at it, obviously. But that's what I realized early on. I was like, I need to be better at planning out. I was good at my own day. That wasn't the issue. And I could just do the work, but that's like, why would you hire someone then, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't very good. And I think AI has helped me a lot with this now is how do you make the whole ecosystem be on the similar plan that jives together? Because you'll still have, like, one of our greatest ops workers today doesn't plan his day, but he's been with us for so long in person that he can just do it naturally. But that doesn't mean if he didn't plan it, he wouldn't be more effective, but he's more than effective as it. And like, there's some frustration that comes out every once in a while because plan out my day in blocks on my calendar, make sure my 15 minutes is broken down, right? Yeah. And I won't hit 100% of targets, but that allows me to know how good was my day, right? There's the natural feedback loop. I had how many things did I have to move to the next day because I got distracted or I got pulled over driving to the podcast, going 36 over.
Thank you, R8. You know?
So that was the best learning experience. And being 25 and hiring people that are 40 is always a unique experience.
Yeah,
no matter if they're overseas or not,
totally.
Because they definitely view you as like this younger kid, regardless if you're not at 25. And how do you approach those like tougher conversations? Like, hey, I expect what I expect out of myself.
Set proper expectations.
I expect out of you at some capacity. It doesn't have to be the same level. But yeah, I think that was the best learning experience. Like, I would almost pay to have that first failure with the first guy again, just so I could like re-practice what does it look to onboard. Like, I think it's the most exciting part of hiring people. It's like getting them embedded in the system.
The culture, teaching
and
everything.
Seeing how quickly they either get excited or you can't tell if they're excited or not.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you get them more engaged?
We have 111 data points that we look at when we bring somebody on, when we're on the 12 sessions. And those 111 data points are, how do they show up? Are they well dressed? Are they showing up late? Their behaviors, their attitude, et cetera. And then we go through our core values. One of them, expectation setting, reiteration, which is so important. How do you set proper expectations? Ability and availability, those kind of things. And reiteration, can you reiterate to me, not just yes, ma'am, no, sir, right? But like, can you tell me what you heard there to see if they're active listening? And a good player should help you organize your day. Like what is it? Fail to plan and plan to fail kind of ideology. If you find a really good A player, they should utilize and leverage AI to organize you weeks in advance. Like, my calendar is 3 weeks out, luckily, because of my team, which is awesome. And they are so, actually, I'm not allowed to touch my own calendar, because there's 3 of them in it, Sophia being one, right? Then having, my internal team, if I touch something, it breaks their cadence or whatever they have planned, because they triple stack things in the background and they talk to each other. Hey, this person said no. Okay, then this block is for this person, which is fascinating,
And that's where you're really, so it can come off, and when you ask people to repeat what you're saying, so when the first time you do it, I'm like, oh, this guy's hard on that person. And that's what I'm thinking, right? But it's not. You're actually not. You're making sure the feedback loop is working. Totally. So like, even like the, being good at being uncomfortable situation, like if I'm not good at double checking on that guy, it's uncomfortable. Be like, hey, tell me what I just said, If you haven't practiced it. What have you have written down? And there's a right and wrong way to do it, but you do it very clear and direct. And it's like, gosh, I gotta learn how to do that.
Hey, thank you for that. It's an art. Yeah. So the egoless part, I think what I found over time of hiring so many people is the people that have a problem with reiteration usually have an ego block. They're like, I'm not dumb. They take it as, instead of, the end goal should be making sure the objective is met. And we're using the best tools in our tool belt to be able to make that objective met. Reiteration is one of them. But if they start to see reiteration as an attack on their intelligence or knowledge base, then that's an ego problem with that person.
And that is a completely different perspective I haven't thought about. And that's probably like, I would probably, if a person me asked me to reiterate, like, I feel like I have good memory. Like, you don't gotta ask me, pal. Like, that would be my, and I think I gotta rewatch how you said that too. Cause I think that's a great way to propose it to people. Like, hey, when I'm double checking them, it's like, I'm not doing this. It's correct. Like, because I don't think you know it, but I just need to like make sure we're all on the same page.
We're all aligned.
Yeah, we're all aligned. Because that's, I think you're right. People can be taken back if you ask them what you just said.
Set the table first, correct.
And if they know it's coming, then
They're
proactively,
really actively listening.
Yeah, they're really actively listening. Yeah.
And you can tell a good one to preface this table setting is saying something like, hey, 3 minutes in reiteration can save us 3 weeks, 3 days, or 3 months in the wrong direction. Yep. So let's just reiterate here in 30 seconds because that'll save us so much more time on the back end, you know? And then that makes you both feel successful. And it should, if you build that into your culture, everyone, you know, before they leave a call or right after they hear something will reiterate automatically. That's when it's mastery. They go, hey, can I reiterate real quick? And they pause you and then jump in and say something.
And the delta in between times you reiterate is important because we do it once a week or 5 times a week, you know, once a day for our morning syncs, right? Like what did we do yesterday? And that's kind of a reiteration of like, what's the game plan, right? Totally. But the more active you can do it while working, the less gap in between.
In the midst of conversation.
You don't see that. I mean, I consult for some pretty large companies right now, and I don't see that effective community, like how you just proposed it there.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of companies misvalue the reiteration part.
Oh.
Like, I don't see it very actively. Like you'd be surprised. Like you have people like make everyone on the same page. That's
correct.
No one's gonna say no.
That's exact. So the psychological effect is this.
Yep.
How was your day? Good.
Yep.
You know, hey, do you understand that? Yes. Because our brain has a fallacy, right?
Yep.
It has kind of this like auto loop where it goes to, yeah, I get it. But what do you get is clarity, right?
Yep.
What is the yes behind? We'll jump in on those together, dude. If you want to tag team those, you throw me in the loop. Yeah, I do actual personal.
Because then they're confused 3 weeks out why not everyone's on same page. Right. It's like in sports, the wide receiver should know the quarterback's play. Totally. Like everyone needs to know everyone's play. It's not just what you have on. Because then if you know the other person's responsibilities, you'll know the overlap issue.
Correct. Yeah.
And if 100%. You don't, and you're just in a little bubble, you wonder why everyone's bumping into each other and why nothing gets done because they think someone else is doing the thing.
Yeah, correct. Is that just, I do for 20,000. I do my own personal onboarding for 90 days, and it's with business owners. I only have 5 of those a quarter that I engage with. I literally go through the sessions instead of 30 minutes for 90 days. It's an hour long, and I sit down with everybody. We go through the conversations. We talk about high level ideals, how to delegate, how to reiterate. Some of those things are fascinating. The reiteration loop. And I think that comes to me from what you said earlier, being 25 at the time. I think when I was younger, I got taken advantage of so many times in business that I promised myself in business I would have the highest level of ethics and I would treat other people's companies like my own company. I remember very clearly a guy that told me, for $5K, I'll get you all the leads you need. And it was my last $5,000 in my bank account and gave it to him. And 30 days in, he says, well, we need to usually run these for 90 days. And I was like, you didn't say that, and I remember it putting me in a position that was very tight. And he said, come back and re-engage with me when you have the money. I was like, I'm not going to re-engage with you. Are you kidding me? You just robbed me.
There's some irony behind that. I think like Sam Altman talks about this. The laziest way to build a company is by spending money on Google ads and meta ads. Like, there's infinitely better ways to find your first 1,000 customers.
Totally.
Whether it's referrals or
number one.
Organic content or SEO, whatever it might be. He's like, because he sees it all the time in VC-backed startups. It's like, let's get our, PR pushes out, right? You can only do that so many times. And they have all this ad spin that goes right to it. And they, like, well, let's optimize the ads. Like, well, how about we optimize the strategy? That's a possibility.
Or the culture. Or just asking, hey, do you have 3 friends that would love this?
And it happens with like large products. And I see that mistake. And you see these growth marketer gurus. And I don't think they are wrong. I'm confident, I hope to God, they've provided results that they say they have at some point in time. I'm not just going to assume they haven't. Maybe they haven't. But I see them all the time, like sell the, this takes a while after they've collected the money. But at first they don't. But they're right. It does take forever to have a real ad campaign that's like serviceable, and it's not an overnight solve.
It's not. Get ROAS, and each platform is a little different, right? All right, let's jump into the next one here. That's actually the team that ended up working alongside the person we placed for you. And I remember you sharing with me your constraints at the time and placing a person with you. Talk me through that process.
So, and we'll try not to use names. We kind of talked about that before. So let's just say player. Jay. Player 1 that you guys brought on to us. We actually had 2. We had the woman first. And then I forgot what happened with her. But you guys reviewed the back-end system. She wasn't online when she said she was. Totally. There was like some disparity on that.
That back-end system is just showing transparency. Are you who you say you are?
Yep.
And hire slow, fire fast. The moment you see any kind of discrepancy, just this isn't working out. Sorry.
And that's what I'm not good at. I think it's because I care about making people happy, right? So like what I don't want to do, I'd much rather have someone mess up and fix the problem they're having and just work forward towards it, right?
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that's fine and dandy unless they just don't care. And if I sense, once I've seen it, I don't care, ideology, or like it's passed through in their conversation, then I'll fire them in the exact same second. I don't, my personal connection to them goes out the window because they misled me how much they care potentially. If you don't care now, then why would you care? Why'd you care 5 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Like at some capacity, there's a faking it.
There's an interesting ideal there. An A player gets the job done and they figure it out no matter what, and they will get you something off the table no matter what it is. A B player will usually always stay a B player, so I don't invest in B players. I actually walk away from them and I go, hey, this isn't our relationship. But I'm very, a good quote to remember that I've utilized that a mentor told me was, tolerate a little, get a lot. Tolerate a lot, get a little. So if you have a really small tolerance bandwidth, then you're only seeking the very, very best. And the only time you should pour into a B player is if they're checking in with you daily.
Try to improve.
Asking you questions. Hey, how did I do? Can you give me feedback? What's going on? Like the only time. Otherwise, smoke. Bye. You got to go.
And I think I need quantitative proof. Like that's like, and that's what we had with that lady. Like pretty early on with you guys. Like we knew, hey, this might not be a good fit.
No stories here.
And we got somebody else. The person owned a coffee shop. We'll call him Player One. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he was always. I actually think he wasn't. He was doing what he was asked. It wasn't going above and beyond. And then the original overseas guys we had, who weren't my executive assistants at that point, because that's what Player One's role was to help organize my calendar, help handle investors, help handle basically anything that helps take the lid off me.
Your EA.
Yeah,
Your
he was my executive assistant.
Yeah.
And the original guy confronts me and he said, hey, I could do that for you. We don't need his salary. And I don't think he's doing as much work as he says he's doing all this stuff. At that point, I can't confirm or deny if he was working other jobs, right? But and what you're trying to get to, I think, is this guy that we got assigned from you guys got pushed out of our group, not even by me. Like I had like some concerns. He wasn't might not have been an A player, right? That might have been my actual concern. Right. But the guys I trusted, unquote, that I knew longer, were saying, hey, this guy can't be trusted, right? And they were all on the same page. So if they're all on the same page, that for me is like quantitative enough.
So scary, isn't it? It's so dangerous.
Not knowing, we can't confirm or deny if they were actually working for the people at that point in time.
Yeah.
We could assume now later on when we see their WhatsApp messages and stuff, it's like, oh, they were scheming.
Yeah.
And that was an external guy that could find out they were scheming, and he might tell on them.
Yeah, correct.
So they had to kick him out.
Yeah, that's sad.
So, yeah.
I've had full teams, come on. A very famous story was a buddy of mine who brought in 15 players, into the business. And he had one gal that ran the whole thing that was very obstinate to the whole thing. Like, actually, like, I'll quit kind of mentality. And when we started running payroll, we figured out why. She was actually claiming 2 payrolls of her husband and a brother-in-law that were not working. And she was claiming 3 payrolls at once for the work. Instead of having the hard conversation, hey, I want to raise, it was, hey, let me be subversive. And we found on the screen run in the background, these people did not exist. There was no working. Yeah. And I remember with your situation, it was, I remember that the guy was working. His screen looked good. He was working actively. And I was trying to figure out what, because our process in the 6 months is literally, is this a good fit? Yeah. If it's not, we have no qualms to anybody. We're like, what's going to be the best outcome so both parties are happy? It's not one-sided or it's double-edged, right? Like equally advantageous opportunity. Both people's lives should be changed by the relationship. And it was just interesting to me to see his screens and I was scratching my head like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why,
Yeah, we tried. We went back and forth for a while on it. And then we're like, let's try it for another 30 days.
Yeah.
And what really ended up happening was, and this is smart of the other guy, he ended up starting to do a lot of the work for him. So there wasn't as much. So again, going back to delegation, I was good at delegating X amount of work, but if some of it's being taken off the plate by the other guy, and it does appear to me as if this guy's not doing enough because I'm not reloading his plate enough.
Totally.
But then again, he's not coming back and refilling it or asking what to fill it up, which is the contrarian view of why I came to that conclusion. But yeah, he was a nice kid or a nice guy. Totally. I think he worked the 4 seasons.
Yeah, he did. We usually try to find 4 seasons or really nice hotels or Discover premium, service like Black Card service. Those people tend to work really, really well. Great English, great communication.
Yeah, clear English. And then he had some power outage issues. Yeah, remember that? And
those were a red flag always.
And that's what you told me. That was the final straw. Maybe he did And maybe he actually got like a crash on a scooter. Remember that?
Totally, yeah.
That was like that thing. And the timestamp on the photo though was the metadata didn't match.
Yeah,
that was the thing that actually
Yeah.
broke the camel's back. The other guy sent me the metadata, and like looking back, I was like, if he faked that, like, did he change it to be like off by 3 months?
Yeah,
And I was like, I got played.
It's interesting, right? I think, when you find people like that, groups will here's a interesting, groups will push other people out. And when someone starts to take over someone else's workload, my first response is let that person focus on optimizing their department. Is their department perfect? If the department is perfect, humming, doing great, no problems, no issues, and they've optimized it, they've got automations, they scaled it, they have a team of 3 or 4 under them, awesome. But even then, they should be thinking about how do we scale it out? Now, how do I take on more work? Because that's not how that works. You know, it should be how do we scale these departments so that there's divisions, right? So the moment someone's pushing somebody out and trying to absorb that work, big red flag, right? It should be, hey, that person, let me help you manage that person, delegate to that person. That's a different, playbook. But that wasn't his intention. His intention was get him out because this guy is dangerous to our cohort that we had.
Our process.
Our in cahoots.
Yeah.
So then you come to WeAssist for a bit. What was that chapter like, and what made you eventually decide to go it alone?
Well, like I said, we already had, I think at that point we had 2 people. We didn't have the full set of 4. Part was two facet. One, I truly did convince myself that I wasn't good enough at delegating to have an EA yet. And we talked about that a little bit. I was like, I don't know.
That's heartbreaking.
Well, and I think part of it is the 8-player match, because if you find the right one, they meet you in the middle for like figuring out how to like optimize the day. And I was like, I feel like I'm pretty good at optimizing my days, but I am not as good with this guy that I don't see in person,
Yeah.
And I think that is something that may have been, I was just the only thing to tell myself, right?
Yeah.
But that was the bigger reason for me, and plus the outside, influence. But it was a great experience working with you guys. I think you guys spent more than enough time trying to solve, like, what does it look like to make it work, right? And what I was remember, I don't want to waste your guys' time. I'm not going to have like the greatest EA at 2 strikes. I'm like, I don't want to have a third one. So
we've had up to 6 strikes.
Yeah. So, and you guys told me that you're like, we'll give you 6 months. We'll keep on pairing you people. And I remember because that was like, there's a startup fee of some sort, and that you're like, you're good until you go. And I was like, I just don't want to like. I feel like I'm being less effective doing my main job by trying to integrate someone else into it, and that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, there's a lapse. Yeah, it's not about if, but when you find a great player. I just watched the podcast from Airbnb, and the CEO spends over 50% of his time recruiting with his recruitment department and recruitment teams and outside recruitment vendors and so on and so forth. It's like the most important thing you'll do, And for a small lapse, when you're doing your calendar management, you'll have your calendar color coded in different departments, how much time you're spending in each department, one of them being administrative, and let's say 20 hours of your week is an administrative. When you hire somebody for the first 90 days to 60 days, that should go up from 20 to like 25 or so hours because you're training after having conversations, figuring out the problems. But after that 90 days, you should start to see a curve down where it's chipping away, and it should eventually get down to like 0 or 1 to 2 hours a week, right? We do everything formulaically. Like we have a formula for it because we've done it so many times. We're like, it should run like this, And if it's not, then those are one of the 111 indicators that go, hey, something's off here. What's going on? Which is kind of fascinating. What made you decide to go do it alone? You decided to hire directly, right? Take me through how the team actually grew from there.
Well, the initial person we had hired his college roommate and 2 college friends.
Oh, big flag for me.
Yeah.
Always a flag.
I know now.
Friends don't work together. That's just not.
I honestly, they did what they were asked of for the longest time.
Sure. With 4 of them, I bet.
They're able to figure it all. But I will say, at customer service when we were day-to-day rentals, you're talking 50 to 100 calls in a day. Sure. Maybe that some of those are sales, most of those are customer service. This is people like, how do you charge a Tesla?
Yeah.
How do you start the car? Like all these and we started building models out that we could send people links to, hey, this is how you do this. But I remember our onshore guys. So like my friends basically at that point, the guys who are working for us were like, customer service is the most draining part of it. Like we don't want to do it. Like we need support on this because it's taking away from the actual day. So to have that weight lifted off and have these guys offshore do it, even if I was probably over assigning people to the job at hand, was still worth it because now we had 24/7 coverage. I never had the Like, how much I would have paid at that point to get a full night's sleep?
Sure.
Well, I would have paid more.
Yeah.
Like significantly more.
that
And we
fascinating?
had 24/7 coverage. They had it all layered out, so there's always somebody online.
Yeah.
And the 2 a.m. problem didn't get to me until I was up at 6 a.m. and I got an update, got taken care of, right? But in the past, we had a work phone that
was yours.
a Google Voice account that was connected to all of our personal phones.
Wow.
And we'd all be getting this crazy, we had it as high as it could go, right? It's 2 a.m. Hey, Tesla's dead. You know, we need a tow, or got in a car accident. And it's like this problem solving 4 nights a week at middle of the night. It's like, this gets old, you know? So I will say there is a reason why we hired those people, and I was happy with what they were doing. And half of them I never met most of the time until like very rarely, because there were people that were on from 8 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So like most of I'm not doing very many meetings at 10 p.m. Unless there's like an emergency. So I will say at first I was very, very happy with having that taken away off my plate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's kind of an interesting concept there of like, remove the pain, right?
Yep.
Throw money at it, remove the pain. But then it becomes a kind of a what's optimized and what's not. Yeah. And I think most people, my philosophy is that anyone who has an offshore team who isn't monitoring or has some sort of oversight, the same way you have in Amazon, Google, every large corporation does it, right? It doesn't matter where you're at. If you don't have some sort of oversight, then something nefarious may be happening or will happen. And there's a few edge cases where people don't because of integrity, et cetera. And those people of integrity don't care if they're monitored. They're usually the ones that are like, sure, I'm not doing anything wrong. Hit me up here. But the ones that do have a problem with it are usually the ones that are like, wait. My privacy, privacy of what? I'm paying for your time, right? Like your time, during this time to that time, the exchange is I pay you for these hours, you work these hours. So the idea of privacy kind of goes out the window because we're working.
And I believe I bought one of them a Mac. Remember that? I was trying to buy.
Yes.
Remember I was trying to buy the first guy you brought? I was like, I just want to make sure you have a Mac. I'm like 99% confident. They bought an older one. It wasn't as expensive, right?
Yeah.
But like I also bought the computer you're working on.
Yeah.
So I think you can put the tracker on if I ask.
You have there's 2 formats, and we'll go over that in the end here because I want to share some best practices. But if you have somebody working with their devices, you can only track during their working hours. If you as a corporation or a company provide the device, you're able to track 24/7 because you want to see what's happening in and out. So medical, financial, these types of space, people that have insurance, security, social security numbers, credit card numbers, those kind of computers you want to lock down and have 24/7. So anything that comes in and out, including a crash hard drive. A crash hard drive is a hard drive that if remotely someone disappears, they stop responding to you, you can actually smoke the hard drive and it burns it, right? And the USB port should also be blocked so nobody could plug in a USB port unless it's a media team that needs to connect an external hard drive, right? And they were like family to you. I mean, they were like 3-year-long people.
Yeah,
right?
I would send them money for like Christmas dinners, like to have all the teams go out and like get team dinner stuff. I would, this is my just gut assumption, and maybe I'm incorrect. I would say the last year is when they started working, at least in a significant impact, not on our stuff as much. I didn't know, and part of it,
it's like drug addiction. But it starts with a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's a lot, and then next thing you know, it's like overwhelming.
What I believe it was the AI tools. When we started automating some of the automated responses for customer service, and they were more reviewing and auditing stuff. I think they thought they saw the writing on the wall, that they were going to be less likely to be used. But in reality, I made an internal decision that I wasn't going to let them go, and they would just be AI auditors, and we'd figure out different ways to integrate them into the company.
Them.
And scale it into it and have that be. And I think that made them, especially if that's their livability, and they don't think they're getting. Maybe they think I'm not telling them the full truth. I told them multiple times we're not going to get rid of you guys
out of fear potentially.
Out of fear, they may have reached out to the other stuff, and that's also like a reasonable thing. Like if I'm 6,000 miles away or 10,000 miles away,
totally.
Some guy you can tell is like, oh, customer service is now handled by Claude. Screw the Claude guy, Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go work for these real estate companies, which they ended up doing at the same time. Yeah, I think that's like also a reasonable thing. Like I don't like judge them for that. Totally. They should have just been transparent about it.
Yeah, I think with the age of AI, we as a business owner, we have to evolve, right, and adapt. I think one of the things, and this is off kilter here, but evolving as a business owner, we have to learn to utilize AI agents or people that are AI native and incentivize them with the business. So example, if one AI personnel can replace the job of 10 people, you don't pay them a regular salary. You pay them a percentage of what those other salaries would have been, minus the tokens that cost to run the actual AI, right? So that's all measurement. So let's say one human being can handle 40 accounts a month, right? Which is usually in customer support. Yours is probably different by number or volume. You probably have a ticket number that you go off of. If that's the average ticket number, then however many the AI can manage off of that ticket that they can oversee well becomes a percentage increase they receive. So on these numbers, let's say 40 per one personnel, if they end up being able to manage 200 accounts, that's a 5x add-on. If the role is $1,000, right, per personnel you would have hired, instead of it being a $5K ticket, now you can pay that person extra $200 for every 40 accounts they manage, and now you paid one extra person extra $1,000 salary. You change their life, double maybe 1.5 their salary, and they're happy as can be, and you give them an override, and they're attached to the KPIs of those 200 accounts. So if they go to 300, great, 400, great, but where's the breaking point? So then you hire another personnel that could do the same thing. Easy. It's just a formula now for AI,
Yeah, I have a strong belief, and this is actually Cam's here right now, but this is why I'm wearing this Loki. It's a little AI recording device to make a vlog about it. I think it's easier. Have we talked about this? I think it's easier now to create 5 companies that make $50K a month than it is to make one company and make $250,000 a month.
Interesting.
So, and I think this mostly has to do with AI, because at some point you hit a human capacity requirement, in my opinion, especially if you're doing physical services. Not as I haven't played in the software space.
Sure.
Service-based, and you have a physical device, whatever, or product, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
I think there becomes a point where you have to hire really good operators or really good marketers, and humans have to be involved, right? But I think that breaking point of where that is required has moved much further right than people realize with a lot of these AI tools. I think $50K a month for a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah,
it's very obtainable.
Totally.
Agreed. Significantly more obtainable than you realize, and not even working 20 hours a week.
Totally.
So what we started doing, and this is, we have our main company. We're doing, we're pretty comfortable right now, and we're profitable, and we're in a good spot. So I feel more comfortable trying to test this out. So one of the ideas is, what does it look like to make content at scale, right? That's the extra long-term version of this, right? What does it look like to have the financing side of the business, right? And then what does it look like to, one of the pieces, insurance. What does it look like to start? Maybe it's not an insurance company. Maybe it's a company that provides protection plans. That's a very specific legal difference.
Sure.
But how do you provide protection plans for car rental platforms?
Sure.
And how do you, stop loss that with an actual insurance policy? But all those things, to actually execute that now, pretty light human capacity wise. I mean, the problem solving is the hard part for that.
Higher level humans,
Yeah.
Fewer humans, but smarter humans,
But that's what we're going to start documenting. This is actually day one, which is the funniest part about getting pulled over on the way of coming here.
No
Because
way.
the first day I put this thing on, get a fat ticket for 36
They know
over.
the AI knows. The AI knows
And
it's happening.
What did Cam say right before I got pulled over? He said, "Have you ever thought about having a driver?" I swear to God. And then literally, 90 seconds later, I'm getting pulled over. He's like, "Maybe you should have a driver."
Yeah. I was like, maybe. Have you ever thought about it? Maybe you should.
Maybe
now.
I should. I might have to after the guy cuts
seriously.
my license up.
That's so funny. Oh, that's crazy. We should talk about the content thing, because I also want to create a content engine as I'm building this out. The journey in AI as entrepreneurs, as humans, I think will be documented. People want to see that in the future, especially real people, not AI. Thought a lot about going live and doing what do they call that? Not vlogging, but streaming. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting, because a business owner's life is, people think it's all glam, but really most of it's sitting in front of a computer in a dungeon, problem solving, dealing with issues, it's kind of fascinating.
This thing requires you. Well, this is for me. I do much better with accountability, and I can self-create. So you and I probably both did better. Maybe not you. You're a lot more organized than I am. But
I have teams that make me organized. I'm actually not a lot more organized. I outsource all my organization, but thank you.
When we first started our businesses, we had this external threat. If we don't make enough money and we don't have what we have, right? Sure. So that pushed us to this first hump in the road of how can we make enough money to be stable? It's not like fight or flight, right? And that pushed, I think, a lot of our natural want to be successful, right? And when you hit a first level, whether I'm not saying I'm successful or not, I'm still learning, but you have to create an artificial panic mode. Totally. You have to find reasons to be stressed out, or you have to find reasons push yourself to want to work 12 hours a day. And people get comfortable at different levels, but it happens. Everybody I've known that I've talked to that has significantly more money, they say they've all had this moment where they pause for a second. And I feel like I'm in this moment where you have to create this artificial idea, am I doing this for my future kids? What happens, I think one good parallel my stepdad would talk about, during '08. He worked for a corn sales company.
Sure.
He said his only regret about not working for himself is that somebody else decides they can put food on the table.
Wow.
And that's like a very like, I'm 9 years old. I'm like, all right, where's my Kraft mac and cheese? You know,
Yeah.
I was just like, that's
blue box.
Like you could tell he's having like in the moment, he's probably having a tough day. You know, everyone's getting laid off. It's 2009 and he didn't
Can
get
you
laid
pass
off.
the butter?
Yeah. It's I'm like, this is a deep conversation, Marco. I am in second grade. No. But it stuck with me. And I remember thinking when I was 18, when I first made our first company, which was fast food delivery service, like on Twitter, you could just tweet your order in college before Uber Eats and your food would show up. And we did it the most non-tech way possible. I won't even get into that. But I remember we did 50K one month and I was like 19. And I was like, oh, this isn't that hard. This is easy. This is easy. Found out later, much harder to repeat that process.
Sure.
But I think right now I'm in the phase like, this allows me, if I document every single day, what does it look like to actually work 60 hours? Not be in work mode, but like actually be in like flow mode for 60 hours a week. That's really hard.
No, it's interesting.
To put like not sitting at the desk, but actually working.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot of organization.
You know, I would say that, you know, this is, again, getting a little bit off of this, right? But having for me, a house system is really important. So Sophia, right? Thank God for her. Having a house manager, you know, having everything organized, water delivered to your house, you know, food ready to go, a chef or someone that comes in and meal preps for you and gets everything prepared, you know, laundry, cleaning crew on rotation, you know, someone that comes in and washes your car. You literally are a human algorithm, and you're figuring out your human algorithm and then putting money towards it to figure out how much of that money you're buying back. Because at a certain point, you're outpacing. Like for me, it's $1,682 an hour. For me to do something is actually net negative to anybody else around me. I'm the most overpaid dishwasher in my house, you know, or in my life. You know, it doesn't make sense. So how do you scale that out so that you become more efficient at making more money and bringing more to then create more systems, more processes at a higher level? And that's I call that generational games. I like generational games, like communication, you know, personal health, you know, fitness.
Like
EQ.
you're a hyper high EQ person, which is ironic because you and I have talked about like you went through a much harder childhood than I did, and you were like
your past doesn't define your present, correct?
Yeah. Like you have like a very high like emotional understanding, and I would say like I didn't have a hard life by any means. My parents divorced, but like no, nothing hard happened really for the most part, and you know I don't have as nearly ability to like stay as calm, you know, and like process things or like ask really specific direct questions without being harsh, right? So I think that's the one thing. That's why you're good at hiring, right? Because you understand the emotional side of this stuff.
Totally. Leadership. I love leadership. I'm a fanatic about leadership. But
yeah, I think the biggest part is this will help me show everyone else that I'm organized. For some reason that's a big thing for me. Like I'd have friends that you know need to find jobs or whatever. Like just stay with me for a month.
Yeah. Part
of it's because I want to help them. I'm 100% open to helping them.
Yeah.
Don't need to pay for rent. I'll pay for all your food.
Sure.
I'll give you a car to drive for free. But the hidden secret thing that nobody really realizes, it makes me a better person because now I have to be at my A game.
Yeah.
To show them like, oh, this is how you got that.
Yeah.
But in reality, you're not always on your A game.
Yeah, correct.
So Molly's like, why do you have these people staying
and
at
even
our
showing
house?
what you look like at that A game down, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy, you know, if you call it practicing, like doing the A game process, you know, playing that generational game. But when there's no one there watching, it's much harder to just like create it artificially, for me at least. Yeah. So
I'd love to help you with that process. I'm a fanatic about it. So if you ever want, we could sit down and go out and like talk about it because I think my definition of leadership is someone that is able to have hard and direct conversations while maintaining good relationships. And that is an art form that'll help you out in any scenario, you know, and that's my direct definition of what I think leadership is. Because if you can do that across many different types of people, because there's so many people that receive differently, and word it in a way that lands, you'll be able to achieve your end result with almost anyone and everybody around you.
Yeah, like the how can be changed, but the why shouldn't, right? Like how you communicate. But yeah, I think it's for me is if you and I got an argument, I'd be fine 90 seconds later.
I'd never argue with you.
I'm past the conversation.
I don't argue.
Yeah, but say hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
If we were mad at each other, I'm unmad at you the second our conversation's done. No matter how extreme it is. Like I'm on to the next thing. Like I don't even second think anything mean you said to me after we're done, right?
I would never let it get there.
Yeah. So say if it did, right?
Yeah.
But most people, if we have an argument, they hold on to that and
years.
they think about it for months or a week or like until the end of the day. Or
you live in their head
is.
rent free, sure.
Yeah. And like so for me, it's like I could be very direct and work, And I don't even remember what I told them because I'm past it already, right? And they might be like, oh, is he mad? Like, is he going to fire us because he's mad at her? It's like, no, I just said exactly how I felt and just move forward. And that's where I had to, like, that's just the empathy side of it. I need to make sure I understand. And my girlfriend told me all the time, her family was super loving. And like, even me being like, you know, like, that's a silly idea. Or that's a stupid idea, you know? Like, are you calling me stupid? I'm like, no. I just thought the idea was silly.
How they take the idea and make it personal, right?
Yep.
That's a core value you have to instill with all the people around you. Like, the objective is the objective. The behavior is the behavior. It's not you. You know, unless someone says you are silly or you are stupid, it's not what it's being said. It's this item or this thing is. So attack the thing, not you. And most people take it as a personal attack, which is kind of fascinating. Yeah. Looking back now, right? Where was the first moment when you realized there was a specific red flag? So you have these players, they're with you. You know, now they're starting to do kind of obscure things, and you're starting to realize there's some gaps and lapses. You're starting to have that like weird entrepreneurial question, like something's not right. What's going on here? What was it that started guiding you towards that?
I forget how you and I got reconnected this year.
I was just calling my friends up.
Is that what it was? Yeah. And we were just talking about business. Oh, we did that call with your co-founder.
That's right.
The guy from Amazon. Just talking about business, like just like random feedback session.
Which are the best. Highly recommend having your EA set up quarterly, 6 months, or annual calls on your calendar for friends that you have on touch points, and just reach out to them. It's such a great conversation. You're like, no way. It sparks the coolest conversations.
And I remember with the AI stuff, I would catch if the AI didn't catch it right. Like the whole idea was an audit stuff. Nobody was actually watching it. I noticed it before you and I talked. I was like, I realized I was spending more time double checking the messages now that AI was doing it because no one else was catching the mistakes. And I remember following up with them and being like, hey guys, like, it doesn't take more than 90 seconds, 30 seconds to just click through them as if you were doing themselves, and just make sure what was sent isn't like, hey, we're going to give you a free month, or like, the AI tool goes crazy sometimes and we had to like put some parameters on it, but it's like, yeah, you can have free supercharging. Like, no, you can't. So I noticed that probably like 6 months or a year ago.
10K letter.
And well, we'd always, if that happened and they like took it to heart, and like we'd clarify, this is an AI bot you're talking with, and we have a bunch of asterisks in our contract that says no communication that's through AI can be guaranteed as contractual, whatever.
Okay,
so
interesting.
just to avoid like, here's a free car.
Smart. I love that contract. I want to see that. That's good.
So either way, I think I noticed that, and then later on after you and I talked, that was like my second red flag of like, hey, these people don't want to be tracked. And they gave some what I thought was somewhat valid reasons, but I didn't care at that point, actually. I was like, hey, you guys are going to use this. It's the same system we're using to pay you guys, right? And I remember them saying, we're okay if the PayPal takes longer if we don't have to use your system. And I'm like, you just told me 100 reasons why I should be using Reef's system, because you were telling me, because PayPal takes a couple days to settle for them. You send them money on the 15th.
Way more.
And it'll take, depending if it gets flagged, but that doesn't count if it's being flagged by the Filipino government, because it does sometimes. It gets like held up and like they're like some sort of banking process. And we would pay one guy and then he would disperse the money because they all didn't have their own PayPal accounts.
Wow.
Which that shows you the trust level we had. That guy had been doing that way for years, like 2 years.
That's another red flag, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard.
Centralized point and disbursement.
The guy I trusted though. So I trust him to, like, he did everything for us. So he was basically just the payment point. They basically said we'd rather have PayPal, have the extra 4 or 5 day wait than the Y system you guys are using. Make sure it's on payment day.
1.5
and
straight to bank account.
That to me made no sense whatsoever. I was like, there's no reason why
something's off.
Yeah, so I was like, we're for sure doing the tracking system, and if you don't want to do it, you can quit, or I can let you go, whatever. Like but like it's gonna be a requirement starting May 1st, whatever we decide the day was. They get onboarded. And what's the next step in the conversation? We're going to talk about like what actually kind of goes into that right now.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, but I love jumping into trust, right? Because I think the trust is kind of fascinating, right? When you trust somebody, what's really sad about this scenario is that a lot of people build trust with the personnel and then they get taken advantage of, and then it destroys the trust for the next person, right? Or they no longer feel like they can trust offshore talent. They start to say things like, oh, all Filipino people are bad. I hear that a lot on sales call. You can't trust Filipinos, or you can't trust South Americans, or you can't trust XYZ ABC, instead of, and that kind of comes from a blame game instead of an ownership game, creating a better process and system behind it, right? Which is it's so sad because they're family. You help them build their house. You give them Christmas presents. You know each other so well, and then
first guy in the history of his family to own a house, and first guy to ever own a car.
What a gift!
A brand new car. It was like
a gift.
Toyota Corolla.
What a blessing.
like 2026.
Oh, he's living.
Yeah.
He's
And I was
living.
like, I thought, honestly, that's where, I thought there was paying him enough that they would never, that's part of it. Like, I convinced myself, I was like, I paid him enough that he wouldn't screw
Right.
me over. Because I'm paying like $1,600 a month at that point. Which
That's
in the
interesting.
Philippines,
That's good money.
That's good money.
Very good
That's
money.
like, why would you risk it? And
Yeah.
I don't think they were getting paid that much for anyone else, but I think they had enough time by themselves without a tracking system
Totally.
that they ran the risk reward internal
If-
dialogue.
if
What are the
you s-
odds he catches us?
If you start doing you get an AI, and now your workload goes down to 20%, instead of what ends up happening if there's no oversight, instead of filling up that time with more objectives in the company, or at that point you keep a base salary and then add a commission to increase in volume, then it becomes like, oh, I have 6 hours. What do I do with these 6 hours? And then when you start in the Philippines, it's interesting. Here we have 3 cars per every house. In the Philippines, it's 1 car per every 3 houses. So only 1 out of every 3 houses has a car. So when you see somebody get a car, it's kind of a huge deal.
And a brand new car.
And a brand new car
Not a cheap car.
It's
like
not a joke.
Yeah. Their payments, it was surprisingly high relative to what I was paying them too. Because I remember I had to sign the banking documents. They did the income verification. I got the whole document, you get it's like Panda Docs, some sort of documentation their bank used there.
We do that for our clients, yeah.
Yeah, and I got the DocuSign equivalent, reviewed it.
Yeah.
I signed it. That could have been anyone, but they actually did go to me. And I remember looking at the payments of the car, thinking it makes sense. If you had to buy one thing, you'd probably take a $300 payment right now. Relative, and it's a 4th year pay. Their house is probably less than that. Is my guess. Like I'm assuming their
About
house was really
$10,000 for
yeah. So I was like, that seems high, and that makes more sense if they have more income. But yeah, then gas prices went up. That's the other part. I think that actually impacted them when the gas prices went up. I remember them saying that their gas per month was more expensive than their car payment.
That fascinating. It was pretty crazy if you're driving around out there. It got pretty incredible.
It got crazy, right?
And it was at $4 a liter, and there's 4 liters to a gallon. So it was like $16 for a gallon. It was crazy.
Yeah. Like this, last early this year.
Yeah,
this
correct.
is kind of when they were like, this is, I think all those things combined forced them or made them feel like they needed to go get another job or jobs.
I think rationale-wise, it was probably happening way before you even knew.
Agreed.
In my opinion, right? But again, that's all subjective. Like we can't gauge any of that. But I think a lot of that ends up happening before. It's a character flaw, right?
Yep.
It's someone that's not willing to be honest and instead being subversive, which is not okay.
But yeah, and then we turned on your guys' system. Probably 14 days later or so, I was like, I should check on that system. We have
Curious
it.
George,
And nothing really had actually happened that was like a red flag past that. And 6 screens is what the one guy had. I think I don't know. I think Case all the screenshots, and we started going through it, and there's like the system takes screenshots every 5 seconds. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Every depending on how you set it up, every 10 minutes once for Hub staff. TerraMind is a live video feed.
Okay.
For high security, we recommend TerraMind. Hub
Yep.
staff does it on frequency. You can do it every minute,
Yep.
every 30 seconds, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
and what we find is group chats of their WhatsApp, whatever systems they use, of groups to help them get jobs, where they're all working together to have multiple jobs. We find them working with one of our, I'll keep this on the low end of it, but detail wise, a company we've worked with in the past. He had reached out to their CEO because they had talked to them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Wasn't that close to the person, so I don't blame the CEO.
Sure,
I'm sure he
sure.
got some separate story.
Yeah.
Working for them.
Put me in contact with them. I'd love to talk to him.
no
Yeah.
Well, I never reached out to him. I was going to, and I was like, looking at the conversations, I didn't know how much work they were doing, and nor do I actually want the extra drama of having to walk through that guy, what's happening.
Give him his number, and I'll say our software has flagged something. and
Yeah,
bring
see
up
if
to
it
him.
flags it. But you could tell they were working for a plumbing company, a real estate company, this other guy that was in an adjacent business, and us. And the thing that pissed me off the most was they're like, hey, make sure we're all on the same page. There's a power outage tomorrow. Those kind of messages. I was like, ooh, because those ones we just didn't have guys for that day. If something happened, and I had no way to verify it. And they were making these AI screenshots of their Filipino news saying that there's outages planned or pre-planned outages. Wow. Yeah, and how am I supposed to know? I'm not in the like. I have no social norm to the Philippines, so I assumed once a month they're gonna lose power. I guess.
Fascinating. You know, with us, that happens frequently. You can actually reach out to us or in the software and put in the region. It'll tell you if there's an outage, internet outage or power outage live, because you can stream into that. There's actually databases that tell you that, like here in the U.S., right? Same thing. So you could look at their local power centers and it'll tell you. And great offshore talent have a generator at home.
Yep. Or a mobile battery. This new guy we have right now, and anytime he's lost power, he's like, give me like 15 minutes. I'm going to be at like McDonald's. When it's not actually McDonald's, I'm going to be somewhere down the street.
You bonus somebody for that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's an A player where you're like, thank you. You know, that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. Did not get him through you, ironically enough. The super irony of this is that he worked at Turo.
Some players are great. Yeah.
The guy that we have now, he reached out to me a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remembered the email. And I was like, I just knew he worked for Turo. That's all I asked. So I typed in Turo virtual assistant because that's very similar business to us.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, do you have a job right now? He mentioned the company he was working for. And I said, because we just let go our whole overseas staff. And I was like,
what do I do now? Yeah.
He was like, I don't want him to know how desperate I am for this guy, but I really need a guy. So I told him, I was like, hey, you can work for us part-time if you want, but I asked him for his hours, the company was working for, I don't want you to overlap at all. Just like be like as fair and transparent. I was like, if you enjoy our process, I'll give you a raise from what you're getting paid. He was pretty, at least as far as I'm aware, he was honest.
Yeah.
As I'll get you on a higher pay schedule. Yeah. And if the first 2 weeks goes well, we'll get you full time.
Dude, let's go.
And he's working on his days off.
Some people, A players rock.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do? Come back to us and we'll do we have two systems. We have either headhunt and onboarding process, or people that bring in their own players. We just do the onboarding process. So if you want to go through the core values, expectation setting, reiteration, all that, I think that's $1,500 a month, I think, on top of whatever the salary is. So that's like a very simple, we all come in, we have a group call, and that just kind of takes everybody through the flow. Highly recommend that, because you can take your already existing team and kind of set a barometer of, this is how we'll operate, check in and set expectations, So I'd love to do that for you. It's interesting, right? Most companies, every company monitors their people. Amazon, Google has 56% of their staff offshore. Cox, Charter, AT&T, they all do it. The large corporations do it. I don't think that companies are aware that they could do it at their level, and that's what we want to bring to people, that it's fair accountability. Pay great people, but just like in a relationship, you go to your girlfriend and you're like, oh, don't look through my DMs. That's a red flag, like what's going on, honey? Like we're out to dinner. Who's messaging you? What's a Snapchat about?
Yeah, I think we jokingly talked about like you going through my phone as a joke on here. Just so I was like, if I don't care if someone goes through my phone.
Yeah, you want to go through it? Yeah, you can go through it. There's nothing to hide inside of my phone. That's
had
like
the same password on my phone for almost since I've had an
She
iPhone.
knows all my passwords. Yeah.
There's
be transparent.
nothing to like I mean, maybe if you're a younger person, I guess in some capacity, but like generally speaking, there's nothing to hide.
Yeah. Be a transparent human.
Yeah. I think that's I feel more comfortable with that process now. And I think you're right. I think buying them the device after they've been with it a certain time, I feel more comfortable that way also.
High security.
High security. You can shut
see
it
everything.
off.
Correct.
Mac's really good with that.
We'll help you with that as well. So we have a series of vendors in other countries where we show you the pricing, and then iPhones, iPads, Macs, you name it, and then our IT security team, you can go through and tell them what your needs are, and they'll install all the firmware that's needed, or all the all the tracking mechanisms, plus also the crash hard drive and blocking out the ports, so nobody could do a mass file download by just importing, putting a flash drive up to it or whatever else. So we can help with all that. Yeah, device management is a big portion of what we do. So it's you have a hardware over there. How do you get it over there? How do you get it secure? And then
it's impossible to ship stuff there. They get stuck in whatever their tariff system.
Yeah, someone else's house. That's where it gets stuck.
Yeah. It's like lost in transportation, flagged for because technology you can't ship there.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the big thing, right?
A few things you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
now RAM is being hoarded. Like people find RAM and computers are ripping the RAM out and leaving the computer and sending it to the remaining address.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty crazy. Monitoring as a standard is not exceptional. It should be something that's done by all, right? And anybody who's resistant to it should be a huge red flag. That's like the main point I kind of want to get for people, right, is that it should be, if you have nothing to hide, you're willing to show everything. A players actually want to be seen. Like the best players I have are like, check me out, right? And this is, I've had some corporate people come up to me, like C-level, C-suite, E-level and other companies, and they're like, I would never work that way. And I'm like, where did you work? And they're like, I worked at the so-and-so company, right? I'll keep the name out. But I go and I look up their company and I look up the IT services behind them. I was like, did you have a computer by them? Yeah, of course. They give us all laptops. You were being tracked 24/7 without you knowing, right? They just don't realize it. They're unaware that they're being monitored, but all large corporations are doing it for security.
Anyone using Google, the Google whatever admin system.
Yeah.
Like when we were going through, that's one of the first thing we checked. So we're like, hey, what did they download?
Yeah.
And we found some of the stuff they were downloading documents, and not that nefarious, but they definitely wanted to use that as a customer list advantage, whatever it might be, right? And it's like, these guys were a little shiesty.
All of that should be tracked.
Yep.
And there should be, you could either do an internal team member that tracks it, or best thing to do, we have a $197 a month where we do monitoring and tracking, an external QA team. So we're a quality analyst team that you can hire offshore that just watches, but third person omniscient. So they have no skin in the game. They're just going to show you the data and be like, hey, here's a red flag. And you can create the red flag indicators according to what your business is, which is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, Google does a great job with that, the Google admin system.
Yeah.
And they send you notifications like, hey, someone just downloaded 50 documents in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Might be a problem.
Imagine having that across your entire computer.
Yeah, that's
screenshots.
Nice.
If someone's taking, it catches if someone does social security number typing over and over again when they shouldn't be. If they're copy and pasting credit card numbers, for example, all of that is tracked, which is super important. Dude, amazing, dude. What are some of the smaller answers that were easy to explain, or the smaller signs that were easy to explain? Like, what are some of the things that were happening where you were like, "Oh, this is interesting"?
Yeah, I think the biggest red flags, I think part of it is not knowing what you should be looking for. And if you look back, it's 2020 hindsight, obviously. Sure. And most of it's that you just trust them, right? I think the power lossage, like that was for me was the easiest one. Like, oh, I just trust the fact. Like, who would make up that they lost power, or who. Like the funeral that they made up, whatever, like someone passed away and like they were all going to this funeral for someone's grandma. And it's like, I feel like that'd be a tough one to make up. And then you go in their back of messages and sure enough, no actual funeral. And it's like, that's a very
to pretend that someone died. It's an evil thing.
That's a deep way to like fake need to be offline because this other company has an onboarding session for you. And you guys all have to be on camera so you can't have anything other distractions.
That's a good one to have, to keep people on camera whenever you're in meetings. I've had people that said their daughter died and their father died to a client who just had a dad pass away. So he was really emotionally, she was really emotionally engaged. So she was trying to send him money. And I was like, wait, let's hold on. Did some background check on him. And through social media, found out that he had not only died at a previous company, but the HR person said, oh, that's funny, from another company. They died at our company too previously. So he had been going from company to company dying, or people in his family had been dying.
Books about people like that.
Wild.
They all come back.
I'm gonna write a book one day about these like experiences. I think they're wild. Take me through the actual shift. About 3 years in, give me the high level version of what changed. Like once you came to us, and I guess you kind of explained that already, right? But what finally made you go looking, and what was the final like straw that made you go, hey, this needs to change now?
So once you lose the trust for me, like once we verified like quantitatively and like, screenshot wise, like this person is not working for us anymore because of X, Y, and Z, my first solution is one, secure everything, reset all your passwords. And that's what I did right away, try to make sure they don't have no access to anything. And then the second process is like, I reached out to you probably the same day it happened. And I was like, who in our network, whoever I met, that would be a good candidate. And at first I was like onshore or offshore. Like we just need someone for like, AI auditing or CS support, claims management. And I obviously found the guy we have now in our 2 years ago emails. Yeah, I was like, hey, sorry I didn't reply to your first cold email.
2 years later.
Just getting to it. Thanksgiving was tough. No, but
that's funny.
I just re-engaged it off his initial thread. Just like the very delayed text or email.
Hey,
I think the first thing is just solve, right?
Yeah.
And that can open up for another mistake. So I think that would be the argument. If you've got burned, your first answer shouldn't be go back to whatever. Like for me, it happened to be email, right? Maybe you should go to a staffing company that like helps you process it the right way. And even though it may feel expensive, and I think you and I've talked about like how do you like the perceived value of the bad things that could happen, it's not obvious to most business owners.
Totally.
You know, so like, how do we communicate that net cost is a savings, even though it feels like a higher expense?
Totally.
Is very hard. And we talked about like how do you actually portray that? I don't know what the right answer is for that. But once you've experienced it, you know.
Average, it's like 3 to 6 months a person will last in a company. So the reset time of rehiring, reallocating, refinding, right, is usually 15 to 28% higher, right, is a common number. So you're already spending more labor on doing it. But then the added loss or cost is if there's issues that happen within the company, right? Or if you have a personnel that's at $10 an hour and they're working only 2 hours as opposed to their full 8, that's actually a $50 an hour personnel, you know? So it becomes way, you know, cost prohibitive. You might as well hire somebody at a higher rate, you know, domestically, or even an executive level somewhere else that can do a much better job. So it's theft at every level. It is absolute theft. So it's how do you take that and share with somebody that this will actually cost you more? Not even to mention if you get into a lawsuit, data security breach, there's an issue, right? Someone gets in trouble, someone dies, or someone gets lied to.
And the cost of employing people in America for lawsuits.
Totally.
Like someone who, you know, says they're treated unfairly, whatever it is, like they're much more sensitive here in America than they are in the Philippines.
Or you get a back-end breach, like they hire 3 friends, but they don't tell you about it. They receive the salary, they pay their friends to do it, and then they have a backdoor entry to their computers because they don't have the right security systems. Your cyber insurance policy only covers your person, but then these other 3 people that come in now have a cybersecurity breach that's more nefarious, where they start phishing the clients that you have in your own database. I mean, it gets pretty hairy. It could be very expensive that most people just kind of go, eh. And it's not a thing that should be at a large corporate level. It should be at the beginning. Set that expectation from day one when you start your company. It's not expensive. It's like $30 extra per personnel. Why not do that? You know, like $30 a month to save yourself potentially thousands of dollars of loss. It's crazy. You know, it's crazy. Luckily, none of that happened to you, which is awesome.
I'm trying to think like the people who like fall in those buckets. I think if you're going to, your first hire, in my opinion, should be an executive assistant.
Always.
I actually do think, going back on it, one, because it's actually more difficult hiring people realize to like embed everything you're doing into somebody else, and doing that on the fly when you already have 20 employees is somewhat difficult in my experience. Either or somebody like in an office lady, like you have an admin type capacity.
Executive assistant or executive admin or executive sales assistant. Yeah.
And either get that person that, you know, it can be more expensive in person here in the United States, or you opt, and it might be closer in price than you realize, you know, if you go to you guys at first, but it's like get them on board the right way. You would never have the support you'd have helping onboard the people that are virtual than you would have having this person that's at your office.
Specialized.
Yeah. It's super specialized. So I think that, and people who now have 20 people onshore here, like what does it look like to, you know, as customer service expands, or like repeatable tasks? I think those are like where it aligns best. Like how much of those can we either automate with AI or hire executive assistants? You know,
or the new model should be how many people can you get under you that model AI so they handle the AI, right?
Correct. Yep.
And you scale a team out that way. Yeah.
And that will probably be a more relevant skill on VAs.
Totally.
2 years from now than it will be for the average person in the United States.
Duh. It's what I hire for most. I hire we specialize in executive assistants, executive sales assistants, executive admin assistants, and then AI engineers, AI prompt managers. And that we have our books full, you know, on just getting that for people on repeat, which is fascinating.
The average $20 an hour employee I'm talking to right now is not AI centric.
They're lost. Yeah. And you can get a $3, $4, $5, $8, $10 an hour employee offshore. For us, we did the math. It's $30,000 for the first year, so it's a weighted cost for hiring a talent. But that $30,000 for the first year, the next year you're paying $20,000 to $22,000 for that personnel, full year. And when they go through our process, we find that people stay 2.5 years to 5 years in their company. That's what we assist as. You're just buying a process, right? Just a replicatable process. If you don't go through it, the churn rate is 3 to 6 months, which is fascinating. So it's a longevity play, and that goes with the core values, the principles, what it looks like, you know, setting expectations on both sides. It's super helpful. So there's a weighted cost to it. You're right. Yeah, great. Dude, thank you so much, you know, Justin. Some of this has been absolutely amazing. And I saw that when you started digging in, you saw some of the screenshots. Those were kind of a huge issue and a huge red flag. What was a screenshot that really stood out to you the most, that really, you know, kind of broke you and was like, what? How is this happening?
Well, I'm pretty even keel. So like in terms of like I wasn't like heartbroken by any means. I was a little upset, but I think the biggest one was this side group chat they have, having their own dialogue and seeing that, where it's like, I got. And I think that's kind of like the moment I was like, this is like Reef was right. I should have had a system to track it. But it's like, it's a needed process to learn. You know, if you're going to be hiring VAs, I think unless they're going through a good staffing company like your guys' right? Yeah. Everyone will experience this at some point. It's not like a if thing, it's going to be a win. And there's reasons for it. Like my guess is life is significantly harder in the Philippines than it is here.
It's just behavioral.
Yeah.
It's just behavioral. Good people are good people, bad people are bad people everywhere, right?
So that's part of it. And I don't hate anyone for trying to figure out to be most optimized financially. Like you need to get your own resource, your own family. That being said, do it honestly. Yeah. And probably in the United States, you got half people are good, half people are bad.
Same thing.
Probably similar thing in the Philippines. You're flipping a coin every time you hire somebody.
Thing.
Yep.
Yeah, same exact thing.
So
love to help with that process at any time, right? When it comes down to putting people through that onboarding experience, I think is what really helps the most in figuring out if the behaviors are good, if the people are good or bad, you know? And we give that playbook to people. So once we find your recruitment hire, we hand it over to the company, you guys, and you say, hey, here, run this playbook, right? I'll be doing a lot more of that, which is exciting. Now with the software, Workstack OS, I can teach people how to do this for themselves, which I'm really excited for because I like teaching. Be like, hey, run this. Do whatever you want, but these are the best practices I found, you know, from my perspective.
This is how you do your daily check-ins or weekly check-ins.
Totally.
Processes. Yeah.
Totally. What happened? I never asked you. What happened when you finally confronted the team? What was that like?
Oh, well, I remember I asked to have a call with the guy the next morning. I talked to him that night. I was like, hey, main head manager for all of them, can we talk tomorrow at 8 a.m.? And I actually didn't know if I was going to bring it up to him yet. I was going to try to feel out, see if I have him talk to me about it. Mm-hmm. He never showed up to the meeting. He knew I was onto it.
Wow.
And that's when I started shutting everything off. And then either one of the guys was actually working, which was pretty unique. I think one of them wasn't a part of it as much. Like he was kind of he actually wanted to keep the job.
Wow.
Because one of the messages do you think I can still work for Justin? They're talking to their own guys. And I'm like, I feel like I should. I bet he was complacent just as much to not tell me, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I was like,
guilty
he
by
obviously,
association.
he might have not been having other jobs, and he actually probably valued the pay that he was getting. But it is what it is. But that's the
integrity is a breaker. It's a deal.
He never ended up answering, which is also tells you the personality of at the moral compass level when you're able to just
get caught and run.
Yeah, don't know what happened.
3 years of friendship. Down
Yeah, gonzo. Yeah.
Means
but like I said, business is business. I guess that's how he views it. Obviously, it is what it is.
Or theft is theft.
Yeah, theft is stuff. I guess.
Justified and rationalized theft.
Yeah. It's
my theft is more important than your theft.
There's some circular reasoning I'm sure they had there to convince themselves it was all okay. But it could have been much worse. Could be years down the road. The quicker you find out, the better off you are.
Thank you for trusting. Let me know to take care of you as much as I can. Yep. If you had to name one of the single biggest structural mistakes, what was it to help people here?
Offshore talent. Having the one guy. You just have to have. They can't be related. They can't be their friends. And I think that's the key you'll get from having a staffing firm you want. You'll have non-related people get hired in, because that opens up the door for them to be you versus them.
Nepotism, totally.
Yeah,
we call them phantom companies. Phantom structures.
Yeah, they have their own little identity inside the company to handle
their own hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly.
The gang leader, he answers for the boss.
Correct. He answers for everyone. Yeah. So I think that's the easy solve. If you don't do that, you probably have a higher chance of not getting screwed over. Mm-hmm. But once I would say the biggest red flag if they offer to hire their friend.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
You got to know something's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. What does it look like now as a structure because of this in your company? What is the one thing that you've implemented that has helped you give you the most peace of mind?
It's just more segmented. That's what it is. We don't have as many offshore people now, a lot of AI systems, but access is much more limited. And no financially ever got to them anyways. Yeah. But just need a no basis process. We have very repeatable tasks, auditing processes. They're just not as involved, which is good and bad, right? In the daily, know how or know what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's the difference. And I think that's good and bad. I've noticed that they are more efficient when they're not getting tucked up into all the like the
Totally.
business side of things. Like just
Yeah, yeah.
you have your side of your business, focus on
Yeah,
that.
there's
Here it
that.
is, and then we have everyone else has their own. Versus trying to get them overly involved in helping everyone,
Yeah.
and they get
Just like a cruise ship, whenever there's a holding tank for a crack or a
Yep.
break, it collapses that and
Yep.
doesn't fill up the rest of the cruise ship, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can cut that arm off and be fine.
Yep.
What would you tell anybody who's on the fence about monitoring or doing performance reviews through a surveillance system for their outsourced professionals, specifically those that say, I love them, I know them, I trust them, my culture is high level trust. What would you tell those people?
they just need to be more comfortable with the hard conversations. I mean, that's the simple answer why I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to be like I assumed that they weren't doing anything wrong, but what it really was, I didn't want to have this like awkward conversation of questioning what's happening or how do I question it the right way. There's no right or wrong way. If they're hired to do a job and they're being compensated to do X, Y, and Z, you have any right to ask them what they're doing during that time frame.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as that.
Totally.
If you oversimplify and try to bring the personal like side of like how you feel about it, then you are doing your company a disservice. So,
What would you tell those people that to turn monitoring on? Would you tell them to do it or not do
yeah,
it?
100%. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose. Maybe $20 a month per person.
You have a lot more to lose if you don't.
Yeah, it's significantly more expensive to not know what's going on.
Yeah.
I would argue that same person that's not tracking their employees probably knows their Find My Friends where their kid is. So you obviously do care to know the details. You're
Deep.
just picking and choosing when you feel it's appropriate.
What a great, find my friends with your kids because
Yeah.
you want to know where they are.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't do that for your company. Why
Yeah.
would you not?
Yeah, your kids can
Wow,
only do
well
so
said.
much negative impact for you. Your employees can be a lot more nefarious.
Wow, that was so well put, dude. Dude, you're awesome. Yeah,
Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate that. Yeah, I want to make sure we say this clearly. This episode isn't about isn't an argument against hiring offshore. If anything, it's the opposite. It's to talk about the people on the other side of this and the ones doing it right. How do you create equally advantageous relationships with both parties are winning? And how do you structure that well so that everyone's happy and everyone's doing well instead of it being one side, symbiotic rather than parasitic, right? Is really important. For every bad actor, there's probably a series of good ones that are doing excellent work, and those don't care to be monitored. They're very happy to show. I think it's really important. And then it really hurts future business owners because the ones that do get hurt end up being guarded or distrustful to future onboardings. When if you just built it out as a structure in the first place, you'd be fine.
Yeah, and I think the standard of tracking will actually bring out more A players. Like, no doubt, the people who should be rewarded for doing these shouldn't be, the monetary benefit shouldn't go to the person who worked 5 jobs and did a below average job and just kept on cycling because there's infinite opportunities. It should be the person who's like, you're Kate, for example. Like, she should be like one of the highest compensated executive assistants by
Commission,
default.
bonus,
Yeah. However, whatever that looks like. And that's more likely to happen the more people, if the industry standard for America to work with people in the Philippines was to track, you'd by default have a better output.
Beautifully said.
So.
Couldn't agree more. I'm gonna give a little practical checklist here, right? And this will kind of help. I know that you already onboarded your person. Again, willing to do the re-onboarding with us.
I think we talked about scheduling that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll help with that. The re-onboarding, some of the things to do that are very important. Verify identity properly. Request real government ID, and where available, an official police NBI clearance. This NBI clearance says if you've ever done anything nefarious or online, that's wrong, right? This certificate confirming no criminal record. Another good one, before the home address is real, or to verify that the home address is real, right? A simple trick is to mail a small welcome gift or postcard with a code on it and ask them to show it on camera. If they can't produce it, then it's a signal, a red flag. But they should do it the day it delivers, not like a week later in case it delivered to another address or whatever have you. And they have to do it on video, not just a photo post. And the best ones are if you sign for package. Those are the best ones because the sign for package is like someone had to be there for it. I think deciding your hardware policy up front, if it's company owned versus they bring it internally, is really important. Because if you have a company owned piece of hardware, especially depending on the roles, you can monitor around the clock, 24/7. Personal devices, you can only monitor during their working hours, right? But choose wisely depending on which role. I highly recommend always buying them a hardware, just so that, you have a faster computer, there's no issues, and then you can have, a lot more visibility, right? Another thing to go along with that, because you'll see in the Philippines, oftentimes, or offshoring, not just in the Philippines, but in other places, they'll have 2 or 3 computers in front of them. So they'll rotate amongst computers. You can see that on trackers that are doing keystroke. You'll see that there's a drop, dip. It's almost, we call it teething. The monitoring looks like it's like little teeth across, right? If it's teething, then somebody's probably working several. Because if you buy them as a device, they may try to work at another company on the side. A good thing to do is random check-ins. Have a HR personnel do a video. Hey, can you show your room real quick? And they have to show the room instantly. If they can't show the room within 30 seconds for whatever reason, red flag, right? You can terminate them. So we have policies like that in place. Treat any resistance to standard monitoring or tracking as a serious conversation, not a minor preference. Good performers with nothing to hide are rarely bothered by it. So if you have anybody that says, "Oh no, I can never be monitored. How dare you? How could you? Privacy, whatever." This isn't the place for you, right? Like and a great question follow-up is, what privacy? Well, my banking information, this. Well, why are you going on your banking information during my working hours? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Don't go on.
Yeah, correct. Very simple. Like, well, what about my text messages? You shouldn't be answering text messages during my working hours anyway. You should be working. Why are you chatting with family? So they slowly start digging themselves into a hole, right? Building a second independent set of eyes on a team performance. Don't let one person account for everybody, which you learned here, right? But you can have a third party opt in to check your key players, or have one player that monitors your full staff and then one external that monitors that key player to make sure that they're staying within compliance, So you can have a hierarchy like that, but it's very important to have. And if anybody if anybody's worried that might already be dealing with something like this, stolen data or anything else, or someone's clearly working outside of their jobs in the company, what is the actual first step to take? And I'll share some of that. A general guidance is that at a high level, you can go and submit cyber fraud concerns involving offshore staff in the Philippines. You can report it through cybercrime authorities in the Philippines, right? Or in any country that they're working in. And that's a serious offense. Like they'll actually, come after them.
Yeah, we found that together, I think. Right?
Yeah, we did.
There's that platform, or one of them said something about
Eric. Eric is great. Eric's my
Well, because one of our guys were like, they had like an open case of number with the entity, whatever government entity that is, and I had to look it up. I'm like, what is this thing? Like, the cyber crimes unit. That's not good. And then he was like, apologize for getting you involved or something like that. I'm like, what are they doing?
What's happening?
What do I know? The Philippines over here spying on me.
Yeah, it's so great.
No.
On Workstack OS, we're actually going to have a platform where people can put on their work jobs, so they can, you can find outsourced professionals in there, and they're going to be verified. They're going to have their digital security badges, make sure that they passed, right? And you're going to be able to see reviews from other people that have worked with them, which will be great. Consider like LinkedIn on steroids, right? But verified. Where LinkedIn, you can say you're whoever you want. This would be a verified channel where you can find great talent.
The one thing I think about, and this is really off-kiltered, but I feel like we talk about this, EA should be walking in with their own AI template that they use. Like if they're like customer service person, they should have a plug and play. Like, this is a customer service bot I built to be an extension of myself that is X, Y, and Z. And they're not hard to build anymore. But if someone brought that to an interview, you're hired.
We test. So in our test, we have a 3-hour-long test at the beginning when we're hiring and finding people. When we're hiring, we ask them to show their portfolio, what they've done, et cetera, right? Depending on the role, we'll actually do a live test, or they show how their bot or automation works before we play them into the company. And we have an AI team. We have 6 AI engineers that actually review it in case it's like, you can do N8N, a lot of smoke and mirrors. Is this a good, an actual functioning automation?
Yeah.
Justin, I know this was an easy story to tell, and I want to say thank you for trusting us with it. From the bottom of my heart, you're going to help out a lot of people with this, I think, and serve a lot. If people take one thing away from this episode, what do you want it to be?
Trust the experts. I mean, I think that it becomes pretty obvious when you're starting to build a business, whether it's people for your accounting or it's people for hiring. Unless you have a professional and expert inside your own team, like, lean on the experts while you're learning to run the business.
That can be translated to everything. So well said. So well said. That's this episode. This is Offshore Unfiltered, powered by WeAssist and Workstack OS, helping smart business owners reclaim their time and build teams they never thought possible. If this episode hits home, share it with a founder who needs to hear it, and we'll see you the next time. I'm excited to show this to a bunch of our friends and family, and share with those that are on the fence just what it could look like. So thank you for serving.
I appreciate you taking the time, inviting me here.
You're awesome. Okay, I appreciate you. All right, let's go race some cars.